This is the latest member of the Porsche family, the Macan compact SUV. And Porsche claims it's the sports car of small SUVs. They take the DNA from their sports cars, the 911, the Cayman, and the Boxster, and they bake it into the fastest growing segment in the auto industry, the small SUV. And I always applaud Porsche whenever they have an event, they take us to the racetrack. We're taking the Macan here in California to Willow Springs.
The Macan S starts at $54,300, and it's a vehicle, of course, that is well equipped. It's an S trim level, so you do have a lot of features that are standard. You know, heated steering wheel, multifunction, 18-inch wheels. We have a lot of great standard equipment on the vehicle. Of course, we do see a lot of demand for things like a panoramic sunroof, which is optional. The Macan Turbo starts at $82,200. We feel that really, I mean, we never have a precise measurement as to, okay, this is what our customers are going to get, of course, because this is a brand new vehicle, and but we think that we can reasonably expect about maybe 75% Macan S and 25% Macan Turbo. But again, those are all things that we can adjust to and yes, see what our customers really want.
Now the Macan we're taking up to Willow Springs, thankfully, is the Macan Turbo. It's got a 3.6-liter V6 engine, and it produces 400 horsepower and 406 foot-pounds of torque. Now, this is a Porsche-derived engine. A lot of people are thinking the 6 cylinders in these cars are actually Audi engines, and that's not the case. So what we have here is a quite different setup than the base Macan. Both vehicles, the base and the Turbo, come with steel springs. If you get the Turbo, you get the steel springs plus Porsche Active Suspension Management, which lets you change the stiffness of the suspension at will just by pushing buttons here. And one step up is the optional air suspension, and that's the one that we have here. Now, I do like being able to change the stiffness of the shocks because in California, with all the freeways they have, they're made of concrete, and they've got all those dividers in between. You get that sort of thrumping noise going down the road, and what you can do when it really is quite cracked and uneven is put it in comfort mode, and it helps smooth all that out. If you want to dial it up and be more aggressive, with a flick of a switch, away you go. Now, all the power goes to all 4 wheels through the Porsche PDK transmission. It's the dual clutch 7-speed automatic, which is also able to change at a flick of a switch from being a passive sort of automatic transmission to a very aggressive sport tune shifting unit that you can do manually or let the car do it on its own. So we're off to Willow Springs to put it all together to see how it is on the track. Even as good as the Macan is, it isn't a sports car. It has more mass. But what is amazing is how well Porsche manages the increased size and weight. The cornering ability is very controlled. The Macan feels balanced, but obviously heavier. The bigger tires on this car make a massive difference. But boy, this is fun. This is fun. This is what it's all about. Even when the driver dives deep into a corner and gets things just a little bit wrong, the Macan collects itself and is very reassuring and predictable. All right, we've had a chance to drive the Turbo, and now we're getting a chance to drive the Macan S, which is also a Turbo. It can be really confusing. The Turbo, quote, Turbo version is a 3.6-liter V6 with 400 horsepower. This S is a 3-liter, is 340 horsepower and 339 foot-pounds of torque. It's no slug. I'm going to tell you that right now. Now, with the Turbo, the steel springs also have the addition of PASM. That's Porsche's stability system, and it's optional on the Macan S. But this is the car that I really wanted to drive. About 70% of the people shopping for this car will probably get the S model, so I really wanted to drive it. And I got to tell you, if you spend the money and add on the extra features that you really want, it really isn't that much of a step down. It's a very nice car, and 340 horsepower does a fantastic job, especially with the 7-speed dual clutch PDK transmission.
like it is the case with any Porsche, it's really important to concentrate on the driving dynamics. We have a platform that we started with, but essentially went from scratch and did suspension settings, steering settings, brake settings. All this has been completely redone. We have staggered wheel sizes, so we have wider wheels at the back than in the front. So that's something that's exclusive to the category. It's really like a sports car. So those are all things that have been mixed together and really to give the driver a real impression of what it is to drive a Porsche. Yes, it happens to be a compact sport utility vehicle, but you sacrifice none of the driving fun and none of the driving dynamics. And again, that's something that we really try to preserve in that vehicle. And I think everybody would agree that it drives really like a sports car.
What isn't a surprise with the new Macan is just how beautifully designed and crafted the interior is. I love Porsche's new interior design approach. Some think there are too many buttons instead of, say, a central control unit. But for quick, on-the-fly changes to the engine, suspension, heat adjustments, there's a quick reference button to make it happen. Now, some of the switches adjust the optional air suspension, so all we have to do is try it off-road. So they've given us a Macan with the air suspension to go off-road. Now, you know, most people are not going to use their vehicle for this, but it gives you 1.5 inches of extra ground clearance for just over 9 inches overall. The Cayenne, as an example, has over 10 inches, and it's doing a fabulous job, actually, with these all-season tires. Now, most people aren't going to do this with their Macan, but to know that it can actually do some light off-roading is pretty reassuring. The Cayenne proved years ago that Porsche could spread its wings and become more of a full-line manufacturer. That is their best-selling vehicle, period. Now they have the smaller brother, the Macan S and the Macan Turbo. And I think there's definitely another market that they can expand to. People that maybe don't want to spend as much as a Cayenne, or they like the smaller dimensions. Now, Porsche says there's a sports car in here, and when you push this vehicle hard, it definitely shows its sporting heritage. It's comfortable, it's refined, and it can be equipped basically as many toys as you like. Starting at $54,000, the Macan S shouldn't be looked over. I think it's going to be the volume seller, and I think with only 50,000 of these being sold a year for the entire world, it's not whether people are going to like the Macan, it's whether they're going to be able to get a Macan.
Looking for a luxury car? All the reviews are available at drivingtelevision.com.